Hello and welcome to episode 30 of the Water Matters podcast. 30 episodes. When we started Water Matters back in 2024, the goal was simple: to create a place where people could learn about water. Not just those working in the industry, but anyone who cares about the future of our environment, our communities, and our economy. Because water affects every single one of us. And yet, most of the time, we only think about it when there isn't enough of it, when there's too much of it, or when something goes wrong. As we released this episode during London Climate Action Week, it felt like the perfect moment to pause, take stock, and ask a simple question. Where are we now? What has happened during the first half of 2026? What are the biggest water stories shaping the UK today? And what should we all be paying attention to during the months ahead? So let's dive into the following 7 sections of our halftime report. Section 1. Water has moved from an environmental issue to a national issue. For many years, water was often viewed as an environmental topic. Important, certainly, but not necessarily urgent. That is changing. The first half of 2026 has continued a trend we've seen developing over the last decade. Water is becoming a national conversation, and the reason is simple. Climate change is no longer something that might affect water in the future. It is already affecting water today. Across the UK, we're experiencing greater extremes. Longer dry periods, more intense rainfall, flash flooding, pressure on ageing infrastructure, growing demand, and increasing expectations from regulators, businesses, and the public. The challenge isn't simply whether we'll have enough water. It's whether our systems were designed for the world we're now entering. And increasingly, the answer appears to be no. Section 2. The biggest stories of 2026 so far. There have been several major themes emerging during 2026. The first is water security. Questions around future supply continue to dominate discussions across government, regulators, and water companies. The second is infrastructure. There's growing recognition that significant investment will be required if we're going to create a resilient water system capable of handling future demand and future weather extremes. The third is public trust. The debate around sewage pollution, river health, and water company performance remains firmly in the spotlight. This is not a conversation that's disappearing. In fact, it may become one of the defining environmental issues of the decade. And finally, there is a growing focus on nature-based solutions. Whether it's wetlands, sustainable drainage systems, rainwater harvesting, natural flood management, or even beavers, more people are recognizing that working with nature is often more effective than working against it. Section 3. The sewage scandal and why it matters. One of the most talked about topics this year continues to be sewage pollution. Here on Water Matters, we explored this in episode 27, Dirty Business. That episode generated more discussion and engagement than almost any other we've produced. And I think that's because people care deeply about the rivers, lakes, and coastal waters around them. What's interesting is that conversation has evolved. It's no longer simply about outrage. People increasingly want solutions. They want transparency, they want investment, and they want progress. The challenge now is moving beyond headlines and focusing on what actually improves water quality. That requires long-term thinking, infrastructure investment, better planning, innovation, and collaboration. Section 4. Why climate change is really a water story. Whenever climate change is discussed, people often think about carbon. But climate change is experienced through water. Too much water, too little water, water in the wrong place, water at the wrong time, flooding, drought, storms, wildfire risk, food production, river health. Every one of these issues has water at its heart. Which is why I believe water deserves a much bigger role in national conversations about climate adaptation. If we want resilient communities, resilient agriculture, and resilient infrastructure, we need resilient water systems. And that starts with understanding the challenge. Section 5. Reasons for optimism. Now, it's easy to become overwhelmed when discussing water, but there are reasons to be optimistic. Across the UK, there are thousands of people working every day to improve outcomes. Engineers, scientists, contractors, developers, regulators, campaigners, landowners, volunteers, and innovators. We're seeing better sustainable drainage systems, more focus on water reuse, greater awareness of rainwater harvesting, growing investment in resilience, and increasing recognition that nature has a vital role to play. One of my favourite examples remains the return of beavers. Not because beavers are a silver bullet, but because they remind us that sometimes the best solutions are the ones nature has been testing for thousands of years. Section 6. What to watch for in the second half of 2026. As we look ahead to the rest of 2026, there are 5 areas I'll be watching closely. Number 1, water security and future supply. Number 2, major infrastructure investment. Number 3, the continued sewage and river health debate. Number 4, the adoption of sustainable drainage systems. And number 5, how climate adaptation moves from discussion into action. Because the reality is that we already know many of the solutions. The challenge isn't knowing what to do. The challenge is doing it quickly enough. Section 7. How you can get involved. One of the reasons we created Water Matters was to make these conversations accessible. You don't need to work in the water industry to get involved. You can learn, you can share, you can ask questions, you can support local projects, you can understand where your water comes from, and perhaps most importantly, you can help keep water on the agenda, because water affects everything. And yet it still doesn't receive the attention it deserves. So that's our halftime report, the state of water 2026. The first 6 months have reinforced something that we've been saying on Water Matters for a long time. Water is no longer a niche topic. It is one of the defining issues of our time. Whether we're talking about climate change, housing, infrastructure, food production, biodiversity or economic growth, water sits at the centre of the conversation. The good news is that awareness is growing. More people are paying attention. More organisations are taking action. And more solutions are emerging. Thank you for joining us for episode 30 of the Water Matters podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, please share it with a colleague or friend, and visit watermatters.life, where you'll find articles, resources, previous podcast episodes, and our annual Water Matters yearbook for you to download. Also, in our next episode, we'll be exploring the world's wackiest rainwater capture innovations, so you won't want to miss episode 31 in 2 weeks' time. Until then, remember, water matters.